My name is Ben Rediger. I'm the CEO of CBD Education Services. Our organization is partnered with Nature's Care Dispensary in Rolling Meadows, Illinois. The address for the dispensary is 975 Rolling Road in Rolling Meadows. It's off of 53 by the track and by Harvest Bible Church. Special thanks to VFW Post 2377 for allowing us to host it. You were the first VFW or American Legion in our area that would allow us to host a medical cannabis education event, and this gives us an opportunity to take this to other veterans in the area. So we very much appreciate the use of the hall and the time that you guys have put in allowing us to do this. I want to talk a little bit about our organization, who we are, and what we're doing. My organization has a team of owners, 7 of them, 5 of us are here today. And what we do as a company is create education in the market for cannabis as a medication and a treatment. And specifically, we are focused on veterans. So our job is to take the basics and break down the stigma that you're hearing in society or at your job, and reteach cannabis as a treatment and a medication by going through the science and the history of it and why it works and how it works in the body and why people feel better when they're utilizing it as a treatment. When we talk about things that we do, we go into the community and meet with leaders of the VFW hall, leaders of the church, leaders of the hospital, and discuss this at a high level. At the same time, we are talking to the community at large, in bars and restaurants, and anywhere there are people, there are patients. Every person in this room and every person in Illinois has a relative with a qualifying condition for medical cannabis in the state of Illinois. Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, cancer, and epilepsy. Epilepsy is how my organization got involved. Back in 2013, right after Governor Quinn signed the bill, we met with a family whose child needed medication because it stops seizures. The medical cannabis that this child takes is given in an oil form through a feeding tube. So we met with them, set up an educational event similar to this in December of 2013, took them to the Illinois Senate and the Illinois House at the last day of the pension vote in 2013. You guys remember the pension vote?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, big to do in Illinois. So while we were there, we went to the House chamber and took Michaela, a 2-year-old girl, through every Republican House member's office. So every secretary saw their child. Then we went over to the Senate side and did the same thing. And Senator Dan Katowski's office aide recognized the condition and pulled him off the floor of the boat to come and talk to us because he has epilepsy. So that led to an amendment being filed in January and passing in May to add epilepsy to the list of conditions. So the family I worked with spoke at the congressional hearing and then again at the governor's bill signing. So once that was done, we transitioned into application work when people were applying. And what my role in the application process for licensing was to teach the community about cannabis as medicine and handle patients and get them up to speed on the science and the history behind it. In that application process, 3 of the dispensaries that we were working with at the time won licensure, and that allowed me to create a larger group and a larger company to deliver education at a statewide level. That's our approach. Rolling Meadows Dispensary with Nature's Care was the first one to give us an opportunity to do that. So I want to thank them for allowing us to start mass infusing education. All right, a little bit of cannabis history in the world and in the U.S. The plant itself was used as medicine since the beginning of time, mostly in in China and in the eastern side of the world, moving into Europe and then the United States in the late 1700s. In 1880 in the U.S., cannabis was in the pharmacopoeia for doctors. It was used for headaches. It was used to treat teething babies, migraines, menstrual cramps, and it was a normal thing to be administered in an oil form or in an herbal plant form that they would make tea or tinctures. So smoking was not really popular at the time. It was used regularly as medication in the U.S. until the mid-1930s. And in the mid-1930s, it got caught up in a political battle and a financial battle with William Randolph Hearst and some other elites at the time that were running the country. Cannabis as a plant has a cousin that looks just like it called industrial hemp. Hemp as a product makes everything, and at the time it was making rope and fiber and used in textiles, and it was also making paper. Well, William Randolph Hearst owned almost every newspaper in the United States and was using timber to produce the paper. Industrial hemp was much, much cheaper than timber at the time. So he took his buddies and launched a campaign with the people he was tied with in Washington with his lobbyists to get a tax put on cannabis as a whole to make it unaffordable to utilize. That was one side of it. The other side of it was a smear campaign tied to a social stigma around racism and around fear. Fear of Hispanics, fear of African Americans.
It's that whole reefer madness time
Yes,
frame.
yes. So in the late 30s, it was taxed in and out. And as the counterculture in the United States shifted in the 60s, and when we went to Vietnam, which is why we're sitting here right now, the stigma started to come off it a little bit. And then Nixon got elected in 1968 and launched the war on drugs in 1970. And in that time, cannabis got lumped in with other hard drugs. There was also a mandate to have any medical information on cannabis pulled out of the libraries. And this was before the internet. So if medical marijuana or medical cannabis could treat arthritis or epilepsy, there's an article in 1942 where it was treating epilepsy, you wouldn't know that. It's not like today where you can pull it up on your phone and find information. So none of that changed until the mid-90s. And two things happened in the 90s. California passed their proposition because they found that cannabis could help treat cancer patients and those with the immunodeficiency diseases. And the internet took off. The internet started in about the mid-90s, and any information that was done on cannabis research worldwide went from being a half a country away, 2 seas away, to right now. And that has evolved as the internet's evolved over time. So with that, you've seen the United States evolve. It was illegal all over the U.S. until '96 when California passed their state law. And over the last 20 years, they've added 24 states that consider cannabis a treatment and a medication. Where we are today with the national law and the state law, I want to go over briefly. All right. Federally, medical cannabis is still illegal across the board. It's still considered a Schedule I drug, and you can still go to jail if you possess it at the federal level. There are bills in the Senate and the House right now to change it. There's a bill called the CARES Act in the Senate that would reschedule cannabis to a Schedule II where it can be used as a medical, as a legit medication nationwide. The Senate also, and I may have this for you guys, just approved, it's still got to get through the House, but a funding bill that would allow vets to access medical drugs. So the bigger stuff is in the works, but it's not here yet. So we have to work with what we have in Illinois.